Hey everybody, welcome back to 3 Generations Restoration. Today we're going to be continuing work on the Allis Chalmers Model D road grader. Mainly going to be working on the engine today. So we got a few things done to this while we weren't videoing. We got all the piston rings freed up and out. So I'll be demonstrating today the piston ring sequence for the pistons. Today we'd also hope to accomplish resealing this front cover, this little gasket here for the governor, this gasket for the distributor drive, this gasket for the end of the distributor drive, this gasket for the oil filter base, and even the front main seal and the oil pan. So that's what we're hoping to get done today. Now we'll see if we actually get it done today. So first things first, we'll start with our piston rings. Alright, so first things first, here are the brand new piston rings. We got them from Steiner Tractor. Here's the part number. Now, you are going to have to do your own research because there are separate sets of piston rings for these D-17 engines. We took a dial indicator and we measured the width of this ring gap and the other 3 ring gaps. And that got us a measurement of 0.188, 0.125, 0.125, 0.125, and that got us this set. So we're gonna go ahead and put this set on. What we did do is I took the ring groove cleaner, cleaned up the grooves, got rid of all the rust, got rid of all the junk, and that sets us up to put the new rings on. So we're gonna go ahead and put them on. Okay, so here's the set. We're gonna be starting with number 4. The oil control ring. There is no top to these. They're exactly the same either way. So we're gonna go ahead and put this on. So I like to nice and gently do this with my fingers. And just like that, we're on. Moving on to the next cylinder, moving on to the next compression ring is number 3. All 3 of these are completely the same, so we're going to go ahead and install them. I do not have a piston ring expander tool here, so that's why we're doing it with my hands, and if you're careful enough it works out just fine. So that's installed. We're going to repeat the process now for the top 2. Go ahead and nice and easily slide this down, just like that. And then the final ring. Is now installed. So we just installed the piston rings on this piston. Now what we're going to want to do is we want to clock these rings a certain way. So we're going to set that bottom oil control ring toward the wrist pin. We're going to set the first compression ring toward 90 degree off of it. Then we're going to set this next compression ring 180 degrees off of the wrist pin. And I'll double check these as well once we get compressed on here. And then the top one will be 90 degrees off of the wrist pin. And just like that, we've clocked our piston rings. This ensures that no oil can get past the rings and burn in the engine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to lube this up. We're going to get the piston piston ring compressor. We're gonna knock these pistons back in the engine. We got new bearings. I'll show those to you here in a second. But yeah, pretty nice step. I've already done the other 3 pistons. It's the same exact process, but make sure that your piston ring grooves are nice and clean. Make sure that everything looks good on the piston before you even install it again. And we did that in kind of in the hiatus between episodes. So we'll go ahead, we'll get these installed now. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put the pistons in the tractor now, the engine. Here's the part number we got, ACS 2490, standard bearings for the D-17 engine. We got them at Steiner Tractor. I got this number 1 piston and the rod cap all cleaned up. So we're gonna go ahead and open this up. We're gonna install the bearings onto both the cap and to the connecting rod. Nice and easily open this up. Alright, so here's our bearing, standard. We're gonna go ahead and slide it onto the cap, nice and easily. Just like that. And we're gonna slide it onto our piston. Just like that. Now we're ready to put the ring compressor on it. Alright, so like I just previously did on the rings, I made sure that the rings are clocked in the perfect position. Just double checked again. We put the ring compressor on it. We're gonna go ahead now. The extension kind of stays at the compressor. It just doesn't want to come out anymore. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put this in the tractor now. So this is piston number 1. What we need to do first is lubricate the cylinder wall. All right, we're gonna put a little bit of our clean engine oil on the cylinder wall in here. This makes it a little easier for the rings to slide up and down for when they initially go in. Kind of glue that around. It also gets on the crank, which is good. So you can kind of see right there, nice and lubricated up. We're gonna go ahead and put our piston in. Make sure that you remember the way that you took yours out. Ours, that little dot that's on the crank, that signifies this is piston number 1, pointed toward the camera. So that's the way it's going back in. So we're gonna set this in. I'm gonna go get a rubber mallet. We're gonna go ahead and tap this in now.
Crank's out of the way.
Yeah, crankshaft's all the way down, so it's not gonna be in the way. Tap it nice and gently. You can see it's going down. Just like that, we're in. Now, I'm gonna get on the bottom of the engine and I'm gonna line up the cap while he taps it down a little bit. So,
What are you doing down there?
I am lubricating the crankshaft and twisting the rod so it'll line up with the crank. We gotta lay down to do this.
What am I doing?
All right, go ahead and hit the piston down now.
How many one?
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Yep, keep going. Keep going, nice and easy soon. Keep going, just like that. Okay, right there.
Hey, you want the cap? I'll bring it down.
I need the 2 bolts. Okay,
I
so we
already
just got the rod lined up with the crank. I'm putting the bolts in. You can tell on the bolts you got a cutoff end and just a circular end. The cutoff end will go actually in toward the rod that keeps the bolt from spinning. You'll see here in a sec, just like that. Now, we're gonna put the cap on. Gotta also ensure that the cap goes on the same way it came off. And I did lubricate the cap. Go ahead and slide this baby on, just like that. And then I'll put my nuts on. And we're gonna get these snug and torque these once we, so this one went in pretty good though. Go ahead and finish tightening this up. Probably have to do the rest with the ratchet, but so just got done snugging up those bolts or nuts, and we didn't have the service manual, so I looked it up on Google, and since these are lock nuts, they get torqued 45 to 55 foot-pounds. We're gonna go in the middle at 50. I'm gonna go ahead and torque them to 50. Okay. All right, so we got piston 1 in, torqued. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna time lapse the rest. Same procedure. We're probably gonna end up doing 4 since it's already down. We'll do 4, then we'll rotate the crankshaft so these journals are pointing down, and we'll do 2 and 3. But we're looking good so far. We'll continue on, and we'll meet you guys back here when we're all done with the pistons. So we got the front pulley off, took a little bit of heat, we got it off. We got all the bolts out for the timing cover. We're gonna go ahead and pop this off now. All right, we're taking the distributor drive off. We thought that since this has a gear on it, we're thinking that this front cover, this needs to come off before the front cover. So we got this loose. We'll go ahead and pull this out. It has a gear on the end of it with the actual flyweights. So there's the governor spot. There's the rest is up in here. Yeah, the spring and the governor are all back in there, but this is the main part. So go ahead and put this on the table. We'll end up cleaning this up as well. But this, okay, so yeah, now the front cover should come off. Pretty neat. All right, so we actually got the front cover, looks like starting to split off. Go ahead and hit it out. Okay, move to a different spot. She's probably on a couple dollars. All right, you want to hit on the bottom now? Yeah, there it goes. A little right in here, Grandpa, right in this area. It's almost off.
Well, there's something holding it pretty tight.
Yeah, it's out further here than it is right here. You need a bigger screwdriver.
Let's go. It's on the dowel right there.
It's this bolt here. Need a bigger screwdriver. That's probably what we need. It's gotta go right here.
Top's,
First one was in the ball.
top's tighter. Well, there's a lot of gears
Well, yeah, we
coming
put it-
apart.
None of the gears are coming apart.
No, they're coming off of this. Not off of it, but don't go in there too far.
Go
Just
right here.
pry it. There, like that. Ready? He pries with me. Ready?
Yep. There we go.
You ready?
Yep. It's stuck somewhere right here.
Just on the rusty pin.
A little more. All right, the timing cover was not coming off at the end, and it's because this little woodruff key was getting jammed into the seal, which we're gonna end up replacing. So hopefully it'll come out. I think it moved a little bit. Oh geez. Looks like it started to come out.
There it goes.
All right, we'll put that aside. Now the front cover should come off. Yep, there it is. Obviously, there's the spring for the governor right there. So there's the spring for the governor. We're gonna end up probably re-gasketing that since this is all controlled inside of the front cover. But someone's been in here before because this blue stuff isn't from the factory. So we're gonna go ahead and clean everything up now. Clean that shaft up with some emery cloth. Make sure that we're all nice and clean, and then we're gonna re-gasket everything. All right, so we're getting ready to put the timing cover back on this engine. We're giving it a little bit of gasket maker or gasket sealant, as some people would say. This kind of helps ensure that the gasket will for sure seal on this engine block. So we're getting some on there, and then I usually take my finger and I spread it out pretty good across all surfaces. Then we're going to put the gasket on, and then we're going to give it another coat. And you could kind of tell that when this engine was apart last, which probably had to have been 50 years ago, that they did the same thing too. They had blue gasket sealer. Got it?
Yep. I'll go do this face.
All right, we're gonna set the gasket on the studs. Actually makes it pretty easy to line up everything. We'll stick it down. Just like that. We'll kind of evenly press it down. Now, we'll gunk up the timing cover. Okay, so we got the timing cover going back on to the tractor. Couple studs that have to line back up.
There we go.
Gotta get a rubber mallet or something.
There you go.
Perfect. All right, we'll tighten it all down now. All right, so I got all the bolts started. We're gonna go ahead and tighten down all the bolts.
Yeah, we're putting one on so it seals up.
.11/16. Tighten down the alternator bracket. There it was.
Yep.
Now we'll finally tighten down this bottom nut. Some of these top bolts. I think it's 1/2 inch. Oh,
Is that a fine threaded nut?
yeah. All right, I'm just gonna temporarily put this one nut on so it'll clamp down that bottom area. That'll seal up. Yeah, well, and then I'll take it off when we get the alternator back on.
Crack.
All right, got all the bolts tightened down. Obviously, except for this one right here. Except for this one here, but we're getting ready to put the governor drive on. And then this bolt will go on. But first, yeah, we should do the governor drive, get this bolt clamped on, and then we'll put the seal on. All right, so this is the next thing that's getting a gasket. This is the distributor drive. We're gonna go ahead and put some Permatex on it. Gasket sealer as well. This gasket was for sure leaking before, so might as well replace it while we're here. Spread this around with my finger now. Avoiding the oil holes underneath that stud. All right, there we go. We got the dowel pin lined up now. Go ahead and slide this thing in there. Just like that. And we got ourselves one bolt that goes in this back corner. Now we tighten her down. You lost the cap again?
Every time we take it somewhere, it's right there. Every time we take it, it always comes off.
All right. Distributor drives on. Front covers on. Next step is to put the front main seal on. All right, so we got the front main seal started. It was kind of a, yeah, you push it in. It was kind of sucked to get on, but we got it on without the spring going out. So we got it.
Let's see if we can find a socket.
Now we're looking for a socket that'll punch that in there. All right, we got ourselves our little tapping device. Tap that bad unit in there. It's still going. Keep going.
Need a maul. Need a real maul. I'll keep tapping, but I need a steel maul.
It's still going.
Oh, it is going.
And I only think it goes in so far.
Oh, that one sucks. Well,
I think that might be it.
if that's in all the way.
Well, the other one stuck out.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, see how far.
Oh, didn't go in that far, only that far.
Is that sticking out that far?
Oh,
Yeah.
it'd be all rust out here, that's why it's out like that.
That's it. Yep. All right, everybody. So the front main seal is completely in. And you may think that, oh, it's still sticking out. The old one was also sticking out a good, I would say, 1/4 inch. But it is all the way in, and we also, I remember that the front main seal groove wasn't very big anyway. Now we got to get the pulley back on. All right, so the pulley's going on. I got the keyway back in. Go ahead and give it a couple taps. Still going. Yep. Keep going. Keep going. You're just getting past the keyway now. Okay, start slowing down. The hole's starting to come in. Keep going, just like that, yeah. It's got to go a little more.
It doesn't go over that seal, does it?
No.
Keep going. It's a little more. One more hit, couple more, one more, right there.
Okay.
All right, to round off putting the pulley on, we got our little lock nut bolt that goes on here. Spin the inside bolt in until it gets tight, and we'll tighten it down. Like that. And then we spin the lock nut in. And now I gotta get a socket that fits it. All right, this should come right off now.
Hold on. That one's out and the bottom one's in. Look at the water running out.
Yeah, it's a good thing we cleaned that. So we'll be ending up changing this oil filter because
Look at the water running out.
there's just water in it. And if you remember in the last episode, the oil pump was filled with water. That's what this goes right to. So you saw that oil pump or oil filter housing we took off on the engine last, and that was a mistake because there was no gasket underneath it. It's bolted just to the block and it runs through the oil lines via those 2 lines here. We'll get a new filter for it, but we're on to the oil pump, which had some water in it. So we got the suction bell here we cleaned out. We just finished cleaning up the oil pump. One of these. This is the drive gear and this is the idler gear. Here's the main relief spring. This will go in here. It'll get pushed down. Here's a new gasket that'll sit like that. And let's see if I can get this pushed in. What just? All right, there we go. Had to stand the oil pump on end to get these screws started with the gasket, and now it's all lined up pretty good. So get the rest of these screws put in. We just took this apart just to make sure there was nothing too serious or too damaged to put back in. Nothing looks bad, so that's a good sign. Just had some water get in it from sitting down in the oil pan, which was full of water for probably 10 plus years. So we'll get all these screws started and tighten down. We're just kind of priming the oil pump a little bit right now, as well as making sure that it'll pump oil. So I'm slowly putting some in, and it should be coming out of here any second now. This also helps when you first start it, you know that there's oil in here. One a little bit at a time. Starting to come out here, which is a good sign. So I'll put a little bit in, show you guys. So we know that the oil pump is working good. So I won't touch it anymore. We'll clean up this little bit of oil, and we're gonna go ahead and put the suction bell on. I gotta go grab a new cotter key real quick. All right, so we're putting the suction bell on. I cleaned this thoroughly, made sure that there's no dirt left. This will slide right in, and you can kind of see the marks on the oil pump where this used to sit. Now I got a brand new cotter pin, and this should slide right in. And then I'll take a pair of pliers and bend it down. Just like that. Oil pump is all back together. Now it's time to install it onto the tractor, onto the engine actually. All right, so we just finished up putting the rear main seal in. I didn't show that just because that was quite a lot of messing around and it was hard to show. But we took this cap off, put a new seal in this cap, took this aluminum piece off, put a new seal in there, and the 2 gaskets. So now we're getting ready to put the oil pump back on. Now remember, I just primed this thing, so it should be good to go. Now we're gonna slide it in. May have to turn it a little bit, but it's gonna mesh up with the cam. I gotta turn it a little bit. Should spin just like that. And then this, go right down there. Put our bolts in. Having the engine upside down sure makes life a whole lot easier when you're doing stuff like this. All right, now I gotta get a socket, a 1/2 inch. Let's get a ratchet. Just like that. That's good. That's pretty good. Now I have to tighten up this hose. This hose here feeds the oil to the crank and all the way up to the cylinder head. I think that's 11/16. That's brass. You don't want to go too incredibly tight. And I think I loosened this a little bit as well. So that's good now. So we're good to go now for the oil pump and actually all the main components of the engine. So we got new bearings. We did double check that our crankshaft bearings were good. Those showed no wear at all compared to the rod bearings. And you'll notice this moves around. This goes with the level of the oil in the tank. So let's say you got low oil, this will go and compensate for that. But if you have no oil, it won't compensate for that. So we're good engine-wise. Now we're gonna go ahead and get all our gaskets ready. We're gonna quick brake clean this down and we're gonna put our oil pan back on. All right, everybody, so I ended up losing some footage toward the end of the video where we kind of finished up putting the oil pan on, but we're going to go ahead and call it an episode for the Allis Chalmers D road grader. We got pretty far in the video. We got a lot of things sealed up. We got piston rings and all that kind of stuff back in. So we're going to go ahead and hopefully in the next episode, put the engine back in and get the head back on and see how she runs. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode.